So I don't know. I did want to talk like really quickly because I wasn't planning having this be a long stream. This was just a quick pop-up stream. But I did want to talk about the Trump assassination and share my thoughts on this. So I want to make this clear before I get started. I don't care if you're a Trump supporter or not. I don't like the guy. I've said that I've been clear that I really don't care about this guy. And I've made I've shared my share of memes about what happened, but I did want to kind of cover it a little bit. I don't care if, like I said, I don't care, but please try to be civil with one another. If you are in the chat, please no arguing. Like, I mean, you can do a healthy debate if you want or whatever. I don't care about that. Just no screaming at each other, no like heated arguments, please. Please try to respect one another, even if they might have a different opinion on you. I'm just gonna go over 2 short videos about what first of all what happened, and then about what they found out about the shooter, right? So.
Make sure we take back the White House.
2 Secret Service sniper teams could be seen on rooftops behind former President Donald Trump less than 2 minutes before gunfire erupted at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday. They appear to be getting into position facing the direction of the gunman who authorities say fired the shots that grazed former President Trump.
Look at what happened. Oh.
Trump said a bullet struck him in the ear. Here's how the attack unfolded. President Trump was speaking from a stage located here. The suspected gunman was on the roof of another building less than 450 feet away from...
All right, so my first question here about this is like, why don't they have better security for these types of things? Like it's not that far away, less than 450 feet. First of all, y'all are lucky that he missed, because like what was his name? Lee Harvey Oswald, supposedly Lee Harvey Oswald, was able to make a shot, a kill shot on Kennedy in a moving vehicle much farther away than this, with a much older gun. So how the hell, with an AR-15, do you miss that? Right? And I'm glad he missed. Don't get me wrong. I do not condone violence of any sort. I do not wish Trump dead. I do not like Trump. I am not going to vote for Trump. This does not change who I'm going to vote for. I'm not going to all of a sudden vote for him because he was shot at. I'm not. I don't like the guy, but I don't think he should die. He should die of natural causes. Preferably rotting in a jail cell. But you know what I mean? Like, if he was in jail like he should be because he was found guilty by a court, and you could scream fake trial or that it was mishandled or whatever, but that does not change the fact that an actual jury convicted him guilty of crimes. So if they convicted him guilty, he should be in jail right now, and then he wouldn't have been shot at by this crazy person. Correct? But yeah, that's a very short distance. You would think Secret Service would have like locked up that like checked the buildings and stuff around there like that. That's not that fucking far away. Like, why? What were the Secret Service doing? And as you're gonna see later on, it's like the Secret Service does not look all that professional either. You know,
where Trump was speaking with a clear line of sight. 1 minute and 32 seconds before shots are heard.
And like, I guess Trump got really lucky because he turned like right before he got shot at, and because he turned, like the bullet missed him. Because like if he had not turned his head, apparently that he probably would not be around.
Secret Service sniper teams moving into place on the roofs behind the former president. One on the south roof and one on the north roof, facing the direction of the shooter. It's unclear.
So if that's the case, then did they know that gunman was there beforehand then? Because if they knew that gunman, like, because I'm kind of thinking this is all kind of suspicious. this whole assassination attempt seems really sus to me, and I'll continue on with that a little bit later. But like, this already seems really suspicious that they're already like prepping to shoot this guy and know that he's there beforehand,
They
right?
were repositioning or setting up for the first time.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look
Yeah,
what
you did.
happened
Yeah, the worst president in history took over. Yeah, it was you.
to our country.
Moments before the
Look
shooting,
what happened
Lincoln
to
and
this
nearby
country,
spectators
everyone.
saying they see someone with a gun. While Trump speaks,
I mean, like, he's got a gun. Half the people in attendance probably had a gun. These are all like, this is a pro-gun crowd, right? This is like all Republicans. Pro-gun crowd. Like, I thought, like, most of these guys are either concealed carry or open carry, right? What happened to the whole good guy with a gun argument that you have going on here, right? Because, like, the whole thing is like, oh, if there's a good guy with a gun, he can stop a mass shooter. He can stop an assassination attempt or whatever if they see him enough. But everyone's like, well, I mean, obviously you're ducking. It's natural human instinct to, like, duck and stuff. And, like, when you hear gunshots, that makes sense. But the whole rights argument is like, oh, if there's a mass shooting going on or something, a good guy with a gun can be there and stop him by reacting really quickly with a gun. Like, that's the whole argument. But like, half the crowd was probably like open carrying. Well, it was Pennsylvania though, so. But still, like, these are like conservatives. Usually they like are the pro-gun kind of guys, right? I'm not victim blaming either. I'm not, like, that's not the case. I understand. I would duck too.
the Secret Service snipers are still facing the gunman's direction. We then see an agent on the north roof pick
Yeah,
his-
this is very suspicious. The Secret Service snipers are setting up way before anyone knew that guy was there. Why are they setting up and aiming at that thing right before? And like, no one knew he was there up until people started shouting he had a gun, supposedly. So why were they already setting up in that
set up
direction?
just before shots ring out at 6:15. Secret Service agents rush to pull Trump to the ground.
Wait, was
Just
that
before
Trump's?
shots
Was that Trump saying shit? Hold on.
ring out at 6:15. Secret
Someone
Service
said
agents
shit.
rush to pull Trump to the ground.
And then you got this thing here, right? So, like, suppose he obviously does that whole pose that you're seeing in the picture everywhere, right? But, like, these are the worst Secret Service people ever. Because it's like, there could have been more than one gunman. Yes, the first gunman was neutralized at this point. The first gunman, well, I say first, the only gunman, was neutralized at this point. But are you telling me that Secret Service would risk him getting up or allow him to get up and do a fist bump pose, without knowing if there's a second shooter or not? Maybe the first one was a decoy, and then with all the chaos that ensued, might have had a second one somewhere else or something. You know what I mean? Why would they allow him to get up and do that stupid pose like that if it wasn't planned, if it wasn't staged? You know what I mean? I'm telling you now, history repeats itself, and this is like going to be the next JFK. Because when the assassination of JFK first happened, everyone believed Lee Harvey Oswald was a killer. And you like, there's a whole like joke meme going around that like all the attempted presidential killers had 3 names, and like, what is the name of the new guy? Well, we're gonna watch in a little bit who the name of the new guy is, but the new shooter is, right? But it's like, seems really suspicious, and I'm thinking like, this might have been some sort of like conspiracy theory going on, or maybe someone set this guy up to be a fall guy. And then I've seen Republicans being like, but they killed the guy. The guy is dead. How could it be conspiracy theory? Lee Harvey Oswald was killed too, right then and there. You didn't get a chance to hear why he did it or what his motive was, right? And like, granted, to be fair, we can probably guess what this guy's motive was based on like looking at his social media shit, but still. I wonder if I wonder if Trump's MAGA hat will be on sale. The one that got like that Secret Service guy was holding there. It's like get Trump's MAGA hat that he was wearing when he got shot for like $50,000.
As they rush him off the stage, blood can be seen on the bleachers behind where Trump was speaking. A spectator was killed and 2 more were critically injured at the event, the Secret Service said. The suspected gunman, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, was shot and killed, according to the FBI.
See, 3 names, Thomas Matthew Crooks. And it sucks that someone did have to die because of this. I mean, obviously, it would have sucked if Trump died too, right? I mean, yeah, I would feel bad. I mean, because, like I said before, I don't like the guy, but I don't want him to die from something stupid like this, right? So, it would have sucked if Trump got hit. It definitely sucks that an innocent bystander also died from this too, obviously. I mean, like, I don't care if they're a Trump supporter or a Democrat or what. Like, it doesn't matter if they're on a Trump rally or not. You should feel safe enough to attend these rallies and not have to worry about dying like that or getting randomly shot, you know? It fucking sucks. Like, he shouldn't have died. All right, and then we got one more about what we know about the shooter.
Take a look at what happened.
Secret Service agents swarmed former President Donald Trump and rushed him off stage after a gunman.
Wait, why does this sound weird? It's like in one ear and out. Hopefully, it's you guys can hear this.
During his rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
We had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene.
Trump said he was shot by a bullet that pierced the upper part of his.
And that's another thing. It's like, so there's 1 drop of blood on a suit. Like, if an act, like, have you seen how big the AR-15's bullets are? They are big ass bullets. If a bullet actually splattered his entire ear, like even the tip of his ear here, you would think he would have more blood on him than just this. Like, there's no blood on his collar whatsoever. And it just like, and then like, this looks like it's been drawn on. How is it like, it just looks suspicious. Like every part of this just seems more and more suspicious to me. It just does not look like it's been real.
Right ear.
Like maybe it was like a rubber bullet instead of an actual bullet, or maybe like he had a blood pack, because this looks really bright red for actual blood. Especially like blood does not coagulate that fast, right? And usually when you're bleeding, it's not that bright red either.
On his Truth social media platform, he wrote, quote, "I knew immediately that..."
Oh, I forgot about that. He has his own dumbass his dumbass social media website. Forgot he has that. At my true social media account service site, it's so much better than Twitter. I mean X. Because who calls it X anyway? Come on. Elon Musk, you're a loser. Like,
something was wrong, and then I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. A New York Times photographer captured this image of what appears
right, like they have those blood capsules, and like, you know how like, yeah, because like when you like in wrestling, like they would hide a little razor in their hands or whatever, so they'll put their hand up to the ear or their whatever, and they'll be a little they'll be blading razor blade and cut their ear and be like, oh no, I got hit. And I heard this photo itself was photoshopped. I don't think anyone was able to actually capture a real ass. Yeah, because look, like if this was real, you could see the direction of the quote unquote bullet, but that would mean that it wouldn't even hit. Like, look, that does not line up. Even if it's going up, that would not hit. And if you look back a bit, it looks like he was hit in the top of his ear, not the bottom of his ear. The direction of this bullet would maybe barely clip his earlobe, not the top of his ear. That's like a drastic difference from being hit up here to being hit down here. And then I feel like because the bottom of his ear was not bloody at all. It was the top of his ear that was bloody, and yet the streaks were by his mouth here and here. So you're telling me that he got hit in the top of his ear going down. Okay, maybe. But he did not get hit in his earlobe at all. So already, this is not adding up. This is very suspicious.
His Truth social media platform, he wrote, quote, "I knew immediately that something was wrong and then I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin." A New York Times photographer captured this image of what appears to
I think this
show
is photoshopped
a bullet
image.
racing by the former president's head. The FBI identified the gunman as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. They say he fired shots from outside the secure cordoned area of the rally, atop an elevated structure.
He starts shooting. Bow, 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 bow. About 4 to 5 shots rang out.
Law enforcement converged.
About 4 or 5 shots ring out down here. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta duck.
Suburban Pittsburgh home overnight.
They asked us to leave our house. They told us it was a state of emergency. No warning. They just knocked on the door in the middle of the night.
Officials say the gunman fired 6 to 8 rounds from an AR-15 assault rifle before he was shot and killed by a member of the Secret Service counter-assault team. The FBI
The Secret Service counter-assault team that already knew he was there by pointing snipers at the general location where he was. And like, I don't know.
It, quote, "surprising that he was able to fire at the stage before he was killed."
We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly.
Okay, so I'm gonna say something, and like, I'm kind of surprised this happened this late, because like, Trump is a shit stirrer, right? Like, he talks all this bullshit. He spreads hate speech. He has a lot of hateful rhetoric going on. He's targeted LGBT groups before in the past and continues to do so. He's called like every immigrant like a criminal. There's a ton of reasons to not like Trump. So I don't think we really need a motive per se, because it's like, considering all the shit that Trump speaks on a daily basis, I'm surprised it took as long as it did for someone to actually try to hurt him, right? I'm not condoning it. I'm not condoning it. I don't think this is a good thing. I'm glad he didn't get seriously injured, okay? But I'm saying I can understand why someone might do something like this. I don't think we need an actual motive with the amount of shit that he spreads on a daily basis, okay? So I'm saying that, yeah.
To attempt to identify what that motive was.
Last night's rally in
And the
Pennsylvania.
guy, the shooter, like looks like he's like has autism or something. And again, I'm not shitting on people with autism because I have autism, but I'm just saying he looks kind of autistic. And
Former President Trump's last before the Republican National Convention gets underway here in Milwaukee. Right now, plans are underway to expand the security perimeter around this venue.
Well, you should have had that set up
with Trump Saturday evening. He condemned the attack.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick.
Trump was treated at a local hospital. He returned to his golf club in New Jersey early this morning.
yeah, because he wasn't seriously hurt. Like, I'm not surprised that he returned to golfing, because God forbid, even though he's a terrible golfer.
Well, Donald Trump has survived an assassination attempt.
I want to see, like, someone showed the actual, like...
Before we start this full hour
Oh, okay,
with
this does
reports and
show
analysis, let's first show you that moment Donald Trump was shot.
Take a look at what happened.
Well, you can see
Take
him...
a look at what happened.
Hold on, let me see if I can slow that down. Let's slow that bitch down. What's only 720p?
Let's first show you that moment Donald Trump was shot.
Take a look at what happened.
He could have been... Wait, was that something? Can I slow that down even more? Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm being super detective over here. Look at his hand when he brings his hand down. I want to see this. Can I see? The quality is so terrible here. It might just be the light. The quality sucks so much, so it might just be the light. But it almost looks like there is, like, something here. Like, it almost looks like there's something here, but it just might be the light, so. And then this weirdo over here, and I've seen conspiracy theories with this guy that maybe he was like giving the signal to the shooter that now was a good time or something. I've heard rumors about that too, or speculation, I guess.
The FBI says the gunman, who was on a nearby roof, killed a spectator and wounded 2 others before being shot dead by snipers. Well, as you can see, security agents rushed to protect the former president. They later hurried him off stage with blood on his face. In a social media post, Mr. Trump said a bullet had pierced his ear. He's now in New Jersey, where he plans to spend the night at his private golf club. This image, obtained by the entertainment news outlet TMZ, shows the exact moment the shooter, who is lying on his stomach, lines up his shot from the roof. Clearly questions about how he was able to do that without being stopped. The gunman was
Good question, especially when the Secret Service had a sniper trained at him way before this point. So that, again, is kind of suspicious in my eyes. Oh, they blurred it.
What you're hearing is some of the reaction from
the
clearly very distressed crowd after he was killed, and the panic which ensued. Well, speaking at the news conference, the FBI Special Agent Kevin Rojek gave this update.
This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president.
Yeah, and I already heard this.
It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene.
George Bivens gave this update.
So let me describe for you a little bit about the scene.
Yeah, like it would be pretty hard to hide an AR-15 if you're just lugging that around, even climbing up the steps of this building. Like, was no one in that building at all? Was it a vacant building or something?
We have over there, as you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when this all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening. And within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction.
No shit.
Chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically.
Well, oops, wrong one. Let me just see if I can find a different clip that, or not. Nope, stop. That's the wrong one. Hold on 1 second. I think that was basically it, though. Yeah, that's basically it. All right. Yeah, so like my thoughts kind of like I said already, this seems very suspicious. Oh, wait, here we go. Something by a security expert here.
Really interesting to wonder where this is going to go. Well, Will Geddes is now ready. He's an international security expert. You may have just heard me, Will, morning to you, discussing how on earth someone in such an obvious rooftop position with a clear line of sight to the former president, how on earth they weren't picked up on by the security services, how they were able to get on the roof and mount a rifle in such vision and in such clear view of everyone and get to the stage where they can actually fire shots.
It's astounding, Christo. I'll be honest with you. There is something a little bit fishy
what kind
about
of quality
this situation
is this?
Because ultimately,
bro, get a better
when
webcam.
You're running the protection of a principle, one of the biggest concerns.
We got a security expert here, and he's running the first webcam ever created. He's still using his fucking laptop webcam or something. Bro,
you will always have is if you're taking them into open spaces, it could be out either singing, promoting, talking, canvassing, whatever it might be, that wherever you have that event, you want to lock it down, secure it as much as possible. And the Secret Service that will be attached to President Trump should have got all of the highest positions, the overviews that there would be of the event
you would think
space
so.
covered. And that's not only the spaces that they themselves can then observe everybody who may be on the ground, anybody who might be in the vicinity, anybody who might be approaching.
Oh, it's connection issues.
But also on other rooftops, in apartment windows, in office windows. So there's something a little bit suspicious about this. To put it mildly.
When you say suspicious, what do you quite mean by that?
Means that it's fucking suspicious. And why the hell weren't they covering that obviously open area where someone could easily get that close and that clean of a shot? And then still miss was the second thing, too, because it's like, how do you miss a shot like that, right? And again, I'm just asking a question. Not because I wanted it to hit him. I don't want it to hit him. I don't want it to hit anyone. I don't want this to happen. I don't condone violence like this. But if we're going with it being a conspiracy attempt, like a conspiracy, I mean, right? Because, like, this is obviously going to make him, like, solidify him as, like, quote unquote, a hero in the Republicans' eyes, right? Like, oh, he's a hero. He took a bullet for this country. Well, he didn't really, because he wasn't meaning to. It's not like he stood in front of a bullet or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not like he signed up for that, because no one signed up for that. So, no, I wouldn't label him a hero for doing this. And it was probably the hateful rhetoric that he continues to spew on a day-to-day basis that caused this attempt in the first place. So I'm not going to call him a hero, but obviously the right are going to label him a hero, and this would probably convince a lot of undecided people that they might want to vote for Trump over anyone else because of that for some reason. I'm not sure why, because like people who already do not like the guy, obviously I don't think they are going to change their minds and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for him now, even though I still don't like him and I don't like what he stands for. But yeah, because he got shot at, I'm gonna vote for him. No one's gonna do that. But the undecided people might. I don't know. But it's really suspicious how a guy is able to, first of all, make it on there mostly unnoticed, supposedly unnoticed, and be able to get a clean light of sight to the president and able to take a shot and still somehow miss. When any normal, like, assassin, like, I'm not claiming he's an official, like, assassin or whatever, but I'm saying that's, like, if it was, like, a normal, like, most people would be able to make that shot. It's a really short distance away from Trump. It was a clean line of sight. You would think if it was an actual non-conspiracy, they would have hit him, given how ideal the conditions were, right? So it's suspicious that he missed, and it like calls into question that this might be a conspiracy theory, because first of all, they weren't even covering that area to begin with. Second of all, you had Secret Service snipers aiming in that general direction in the first place. And like this guy said, they should have scouted out that area way in advance ahead of time anyway. Sorry. Oh, so he was... Well, yeah, he was noticed, like... I think he went noticed, like, a couple seconds before he started squeezing off shots, though. I'm not quite sure.
Well, it really falls into one of two areas,
though.
Chris. There is either incompetence in terms of the security planning,
which might be that too. That's a possibility too. It might just be total fucking incompetence, because, like, first of all, they probably should have had a larger detail for the Secret Service to begin with, and second of all, it's like with the JFK assassination attempt, like, they were basically saying, like, there was just way too many windows for all the Secret Service people there to cover every single window, kind of thing, which that one makes more sense than just an obvious fucking location. You know what I mean?
Collaboration or
Detractor Maiden, it's either obvious or it's what was I going to say? It was kind of dumb for Secret Service, in my opinion, to allow him to even get back up to do that in the first place. Because, yes, the first shooter was neutralized at that point, but for all they knew, there could have been a second shooter. So they willingly allowed him to get back up to shoot him, that a second person might be able to shoot him, because they didn't know if there's a second sniper at that point or not. You know, it just seems kind of suspicious that they would allow him to fist pump in defiance like that in the first place, you know what I mean? Because that like leaves him totally unprotected. So I'm like, In the minutes before press conference from the local law enforcement. Oh, they did have multiple calls? So yeah, maybe someone did see him actually going up to the rooftop from there. Maybe inside the building or something, that someone saw that.
Collusion in terms of enabling there to be a vacuum, a void within the security that could be potentially filled. I hope it's not. I mean, I hope it's neither, to be absolutely honest with you. But at the moment, it's very difficult to draw any speculation as it to being, you know, either one or the other.
Is there any defence, perhaps, that the Secret Service can plead on this? Because apparently it was outside of the perimeter of their remit, if you like, that this
it was such a
shooter
small
was
perimeter
on a roof
they had
quite
set
far
up, though.
away. Apparently from...
It wasn't that far away. It was less than 400 yards, I think they
from
said.
this rally. So is that anything that they can say that perhaps they couldn't have foreseen?
Oh, yeah, I did see that, but, like, as soon as they had noticed that, like, he started shooting, like, almost right away. Because they're like, he's got a gun, and they started, like, shooting and or moving away and calling out that he had a gun.
Really, I think, again, I'm finding this really difficult for it to be a defensible position by the Secret Service, unless...
This all just seems, like, weird, like, in my opinion. And like, I could be 100% wrong, and I'm like, that's fine. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I'll admit that I'm wrong. Like, but I don't think we'll ever fully know. Same with Kennedy. It's like, or JFK. It's like, well, it's a general consensus now, so many years after the fact, that yeah, there was a conspiracy theory with Kennedy, and the CIA probably killed JFK. Like, I think the majority of people probably think there's some sort of conspiracy going on with JFK. But obviously that's going to take time, and like I said, history tends to seem to repeat itself over and over again. There's always history is repeating itself, and like, you know what, like, it's just obviously like this seems to be a repeat of history.
There was such a lapse, and
almost as soon as this happened, you had people spreading a possibility of it being a conspiracy or cover, especially with this weirdo guy here, who I think right before he got shot, he was like almost looked like he was signaling the gunman or something like that.
Some breakdown or failure, obviously, by someone within the Secret Service. Now, Krista, don't get me wrong. I know and have some friends who are in the Secret Service, and they are incredibly competent, and they're very well rehearsed and very well experienced, having had numerous attempts, assassination attempts of various different types against former presidents. So I know that they have their game plan very well set out.
That's what I'm saying, Newt. Like, it was less than 400 feet away. Why was that building not secured? And then I see a lot of people on Twitter on the right, like, just basically shitting on her for being a woman in Secret Service, which is really sexist, by the way.
Concern is, and I don't subscribe to conspiracy theories, Krista. You and I have known each other a number of years, and when have you ever heard me endorse a conspiracy theory? But this is just very, very odd that this open position...
And, like, it's clearly he got shot at the top of the ear, but you saw that one photo of the bullet captured... The photo of the bullet in the ear about to hit him captured on photography, and it would look like it was going to barely hit the bottom of his ear. So if the bullet was like, because I showed, just rewind the stream, you'll see it, but like, if the bullet was about to hit him in the lower lobe of the ear, how all of a sudden was it hitting the top of his ear instead?
And with rifles, whether it be, you know, something which is built to shoot from with a parabellum from a great distance, you know, there are some serious questions to be asked that, you know, you try and put your principal into a pocket of security that they can.
This guy's connection sucks.
One of the biggest challenges, as we've seen in the world, where someone is right next to the stage of where they're talking.
I think.
Sorry, Chris.
It was a follow-up shot after he'd already gotten hit then? Because it looked like Trump was still, like, talking or mid-speak, and it didn't look like he was, like, ducking yet.
I think we were losing you for just a moment. Listen, well, really interesting to get your update on this. I think we're losing the connection a little bit there, so we'll leave it. But thank you so much for telling us what you think of that. And, again, I don't go for conspiracy theories much. I do a little bit, but not loads. But I can see where Will is coming from on that, because it is quite staggering.
Who is this guy doing the camera work? He's not very professional.
It's quite staggering, just the open space that this shooter was from. And again, members of the crowd, there's interviews with people from the crowd often saying, we were pointing, we were saying, look, there's this guy over there about to shoot at former President Trump. So it's quite staggering that this person was missed. So, gross incompetence or something more sinister, well, those are going to be the kinds of questions that will be asked. And
it could very easily just be incompetence on the part of Secret Service here. Maybe he wasn't assigned the most competent type of let me see if I can see if there's any assassination. Where do I find the... Actually, let me just go back and see if it was in the original one.
See something that said, take a look at what happened.
No, this is too zoomed in. I wanted the picture of that one weirdo guy back there. That guy. Doesn't even duck or anything. It's just kind of like, this guy's suspicious in my opinion. Oh. Bad quality on the thing. This guy over here is like, cut the cameras! Don't film! And a bunch of people trying to fuck you! Where were you before? Alright, let me see if, like, I'm trying to find that one where it's, like, showing the actual, this Alright, let me just watch this
And
one.
that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
I guess he wasn't. Doesn't duck, doesn't anything, just kind of... Alright, well, that's it. Yeah, I basically just gave my kind of, like, quick... not ideal, my quick thoughts on the subject. Obviously, I don't condone what happened. I don't like the guy, but I don't think he should be shot at. Obviously, it's kind of fucked up. If it is real and legitimate and not a conspiracy theory, it's fucked up. If it is a conspiracy, it's even more fucked up that someone would go through all this trouble of killing an innocent bystander and the fall guy just to bolster poll numbers is really fucked up, especially when he was already leading the polls in the first place. Yeah, like, this guy's, like, totally... like, it's that one... Who was the one with that one lady? Hold on. He reminds me of that one lady in the JFK assassination. There's like that one umbrella guy, or whatever. They had like an umbrella and he didn't duck or anything.
This version tracks the limousine and maintains frame.
Oh my god, that's not what I want. Where's the Zapruder film? I can't ever pronounce it. So here's they're coming down around the bend. And there we go. And then she obviously does that iconic picture there. And it was really suspicious with the driver too, because like he kind of slowed down to like a 10-mile-per-hour like crawl of the thing. I'm like, that's kind of suspicious. Oh yeah, that'll be better if we just make the stupid noise behind it. But I don't know if I can if any of these where that guy was, but there's like an umbrella guy who was really suspicious after the shooting. But I think it was I don't know if it shows it or not. There's one of the people like over here that was really suspicious too, and they didn't duck or scream or react in any sort of way whatsoever. No, I'm allowing politics this time. As long as you guys don't freak out and yell at each other or whatever. I mean, that's fine that you're conservative. I don't care if you're conservative or Democrat or whatever, you know? No, I know. I'm just saying it looks a little weird, that's all. I'm not stating I 100% believe it was a conspiracy because this, and this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it looks a little off. But again, I've never been... I mean, I've fired guns before, but not like assault rifles or any of that shit, and I've never been shot at before or anything, thankfully, so I can't really say one way or the other about that. I'm just saying it was a little odd. And like I said, and giving my thoughts on the whole issue in general, that it seems that like history is repeating itself in a way almost. And it's kind of not funny, but it's kind of weird that like the Simpsons, you know how like everyone claims that, oh, the Simpsons are predicting this, the Simpsons are predicting that, and they predicted Trump dying, obviously, and obviously it turns out not to be the case because of this anyway, obviously. Thankfully, he didn't get hit. Thankfully, he wasn't killed because of this stupid asshole guy, right? But my conspiracy theory brain tends to go to like, not conspiracy theory, but like, I don't know what it's called, but it's like, what if there are multiple timelines, right? Multiple world timelines and divergences onto different world timelines, right? And this was one of those moments in history where Trump should have died or shouldn't have died. And like time splits off into two different timelines, one where he continues to live and one where he was supposed to, or one where he does die. And we hopped onto a different timeline to where he wasn't killed, thankfully. And now we're going on this alternate timeline that we weren't supposed to go on. That would also explain the Mandela effect, that there's multiple different timelines and multiple different outcomes to historical events and stuff like that. Occam's razor. It wasn't Occam's, it's Occam's, but yeah. Which the simplest option is whatever is probably the most logical option, which is probably just some pissed off, dumb 20-year-old who, and by the way, I don't know if you had mentioned this or not, the shooter was Republican. So it's like he was a registered Republican. And I know some of people on the right might try to spin that into, oh, see what happens when the left doesn't like a person, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's not the case. He was a Republican, though. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm technically a Democrat, but I hate how the Democrats are so pussy about everything, and they just let themselves get stepped on by fucking everyone and don't stand up for themselves, not in terms of taking up arms, but in terms of fighting back against certain bills that Republicans are trying to push by, i.e. like fucking the Roe versus Wade overturn thing was one of them that I don't agree with, and maybe Biden should have fucking done something instead of just sitting by and letting it happen. So like, I get pissed off that the Democrats are too soft in certain cases in terms of allowing the Republicans to step all over them, right? So, but I don't think any actual, like, extreme radical leftist is that extreme enough to go and shoot at freaking Trump, though. So I'm like, he was Republican. What are we seeing here? As a former Marine, this was insanely Exactly. I said that before. Like, how was such an obvious possible location not secured in the first place? Like, from such an obvious elevated position, less than 400 feet away. You're telling me it wasn't secured? It just seems like a very it's either incompetence or it's a conspiracy theory, and if you ask me, and it's probably incompetence. The fact that they didn't have enough security, Secret Service people there either. Yes, the Zapruder film was supposedly the only footage of the JFK assassination. There was apparently rumor that there was a second film that was given to the committee that was doing the investigation into the assassination of JFK. There was supposedly a second film that was shot from the other side of the street that showed the grassy knoll that was submitted for the investigation into the assassination of JFK, and it was never given back. It was like mysteriously vanished, right? But supposedly there was a second film in addition to the Zapruder film, but no one got to see it except for the investigators of the assassination, apparently. Multiple targets? Because that's what I'm saying. It's like they didn't know that there was a second shooter or not. So it's like, why would they allow Trump to stand up and do that fist bump and open himself up to possibly being hit again by a secondary shooter? They didn't know how many shooters were out at the time. Like, they just instantly assumed it was just one shooter. So they allowed Trump to do a defiant fist bump in the air and open himself up to a possible second attack. That just seems kind of fishy to me, that they would allow him to do such a stupid, risky maneuver like that when they don't know if there's a secondary gunman or not, you know? Yeah, because, like, apparently they, like, had a very small area that was secure around the actual thing, but not, like, less than 300 feet away from the only elevated location like that. And I don't know anything about the whole January 6th thing. I'm thinking that might be kind of sus or not. I mean, I'm saying what I think you're saying is kind of suspicious and not accurate, but we're not talking about that right now. Yeah, they were, but, like, are you telling me, like, an 80-something-year-old guy is going to use, like, more enough strength to push some of the, like, these secure... I can't talk. Are you telling me a frail 80-year-old Trump is going to be able to push enough of the Secret Service people off of him in order to do that? I don't think he's that strong that he could push multiple Secret Service agents off of him in order to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously they were standing in front of him and trying to, like, block any shots, but it just seems very kind of suspicious in my opinion, that's all. But, I mean, we'll never really know, obviously, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because thankfully he wasn't killed from that in the first place. Because, like, I don't like the guy, but I don't think he should be freaking shot at. 3 hours ago? What is this?
Attempted to assassinate the former president, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks of Bethel Park. The FBI has told us that Crooks's father...
Yeah, because, like, I don't want to sound too, because, again, like, I'm painting myself as this nut, conspiracy thing. But at the same time, it doesn't matter if you vote Democrat or Republican. Our government is trying to divide us by sparking the division between Democrats and Republicans. So you have us fighting against one another when really, like, our votes doesn't really matter that much. It's like the president doesn't have that much power when it comes down to it. He's more like a figurehead than anything else. Sure, he can do some executive, what is it called? The executive orders here and there, but that's kind of about it. Like, it's not like the government, what the fuck? It's not like the president is in control of the entire government, and like it's more matters about who has like the majority in the House and the Senate. You know what I mean? That's what more matters more than the actual president. But they're trying to create such division and like civil war against the Dems. I'm gonna kill all the Democrats. I'm gonna kill all the Republicans. When it's just division. Like, they are distracting us with stupid shit like this, so that we don't notice what's actually going on and the actual corruption going on in the actual government. You know what I mean? That the local law enforcement was in charge of the calls? Well, they didn't act fast enough, clearly. JDX, like, you might be right. I don't know. Like, I am more worried not so much about Trump, but about the GOP and what the GOP's plan for America is with their 2025 plan. Because, to be fair, I haven't actually read it, but I've heard a lot of shit about it. So I really need to sit down and actually read the actual 2025 plan that the GOP has, because I'm more worried about that and the actual GOP behind that trying to push all these like fucked up kind of supposedly fucked up rules and laws that prevent like a lot of like basic civil liberties that LGBT people have and shit like that. Because like, I wouldn't have a problem with Republicans if it wasn't for the party constantly trying to limit basic rights that like LGBT people have, that and while they haven't done anything wrong to anyone at all, right? It's like they're just trying to be themselves, and they can't even be that because they're always trying to limit shit like that. That's my main issue, that because it involves me. I'm like, you know what I mean? Because like otherwise I'd be like, whatever, I don't care, vote for whoever you want. Because like, I mean, obviously it's going, like, no matter who's president, it's going to affect us in the long run. But I'm saying, like, personally, like, that's my main concern, if that makes sense. Have you heard of whose policies? Trump's, or? Well, that's the problem also, is this whole partisan bullshit. Like, we need to get rid of just this two-party system, too. Like, and the fact that, like, anyone should be allowed to be president. It shouldn't be about how much money you have, and if you have enough money, then you can be president. Like, that's kind of fucked up, too. And it's like, anyone should have the ability to run for president, and it shouldn't cost them out of their pocket money to do that in the first place. Not to mention the fact that I kind of feel we should have some younger men as president. We have to have better candidates than these two assholes, in my opinion, because I think they're both assholes. And I'm, in terms of the whole, like, not to get super political about that, because I know that's a hot button topic too, but I don't think our government should be financially supporting an actual fucking genocide going on. I don't think our government should be even interfering in that in the first place. Oh, no, you're fine. No, I know. I'm just saying that's what I'm worrying about as a voter. Because that's what affects me more directly than anything else, JDX. Right? But let's see what this says.
Bought the rifle that was used, but there is no indication that he knew anything about his son's plans.
Thomas Crooks graduated from Bethel Park High
School. See, it's every time there's a mass shooter, it's always some dumbass kid stealing the father's or the parents' rifles and guns because they fail to lock up the weapons properly. You people, if you have guns in the house, you need a gun safe. Why do they should be required that you have a gun safe?
2 years ago, he's described as a smart kid, good student, someone who was mostly quiet and kept to himself.
Everyone kind of knew him as the kid that knew everything. So everything we would always joke, say, I bet Thomas knows the answer to this question. If we don't, Thomas knows it.
Tonight, federal agents are still trying to connect some dots, looking into Crook's mental health history and what his emotional state may have been leading up to Saturday. Today, the FBI was in the neighborhood in Bethel Park where Crooks lived.
And I'm against shit like this, like news reporting like this, because you're giving this guy attention when the attention should not be on this guy in the first place. It should be on the innocent people that were wounded and killed because of this asshole. You know what I mean? Same with any mass shooting incident that happens. Do not focus on the shooter. Focus on the people that unfortunately were injured by this, you know? Yeah, and I get that, a lot of Republicans are, religious, but this is not a religious country. Christianity is not the religion of America. It isn't. You have the freedom to worship any religion you want, and that's not just applicable to Christianity. And you don't have to have any religion. So we shouldn't be forcing archaic old religious doctrine into actual laws, because there's a separation of church and state for a reason. And that's just my opinion.
Going door to door.
And that's where we find our Megan Schiller this afternoon. Megan.
And that's fine. I'm not attacking you or anyone. They actually added that. If you actually look back far enough, there's Looney Tunes. I know it's fucking not a good source, but Looney Tunes from the 1940s, there was a still that showed the Pledge of Allegiance, and it didn't actually say "under God" in it. They added "under God" and "in God we trust" to the coins after a certain date, to the pledge and to the coins and stuff. That was all added after the 40s, I think. It was either in the 50s or 60s they added that shit.
Erica and Ken, reporters from all over the area and really across the globe.
I was raised Catholic, but I'm not Christian anymore because of a lot of the harmful religious rhetoric that is going on. God, I was raised to believe that God loves everyone, no matter what, and that you shouldn't be judging other people because that's God's job. God is going to judge everyone when we die. It's not up to us to judge everyone else.
Have been descending here into Bethel Park, just trying to learn more about Thomas Crooks and his family members and his friends, those who were close.
But it seems that a lot of religions and churches seem to have pull or financial or not financial. What's the right word? They seem to have political ties or sway in certain politics anyway, even though the churches should be staying out of politics. So maybe we should be taxing churches since they should be out of politics, but they still have a sway over certain political leaders this way or that way. Maybe we should be taxing churches then, because they have such sway in politicians.
To him. Right behind me is his home, and in the driveway is the blue pickup truck that neighbors say they remember seeing him drive through the neighborhood. Most importantly,
why are
though,
they kind of
the neighbors we talked with said they just
giving
remember him
the shooter
walking
so
the
much
neighborhood alone.
attention?
We did just get
I mean, I know he's
information
dead,
confirmed
but
that the preliminary examination of Crooks' cell phone has not yet produced anything helpful in determining a motive. All eyes are locked on Bethel Park as investigators search for clues and a motive for Saturday.
Again, I want to say one more thing too. It's I don't like Trump, but I don't think he doesn't deserve this. Obviously, I don't condone violence. I want to be on record saying that and everything. But as a critic of his, I can see how someone who is mentally ill can take all of the hate speech that he spreads, his hateful rhetoric, the violence that he tends to incite in mentally unstable people. I can see why some people might want mentally challenged people, or not mentally challenged, mentally unwell people might take matters into their own hands. I don't think you need an exact motive as to why. Like, it's not like some altruistic presidential candidate who's done nothing wrong and we can't possibly fathom a reason as to why he was shot at. Obviously, he doesn't deserve to be shot at, but he's a very brazen, outspoken person that has riled up a whole nation more than once, many different times. I can probably see why this person might have done the way he did. And even though he was registered Republican, there are plenty of Republicans who do not like him. So maybe they wanted a different Republican candidate. So like there is a decent motive this guy might have had. I'm not saying it's justified, obviously.
Saturday's assassination attempt. Liam Campbell recognized his neighbor and former classmate immediately.
Yeah, immediately. I've like all the yearbook photos and everything. I knew who he was.
We asked him his reaction to the news that investigators found rudimentary bomb-making materials just a few feet away at Thomas Crook's family home.
I was shocked because knowing that he lived so close to me, that he did something like that, it's just, it's shocking.
And as federal investigators search for him,
well, maybe he changed his affiliation, but he never officially changed it on the registration then. But I'm just saying, it's like, this isn't exemplary of Republicans or Democrats. This wasn't like a die-hard leftist either, though.
A motive behind the shooting.
But yeah, we're never going to know his true intentions, but something radicalized him to this point or extent, and we're never going to be sure where. But that doesn't mean, oh, Antifa is responsible and they planted this guy. No, that's not the case either, though.
Father, Crooks's former classmates try to process.
I don't know what happened after graduation, but in high school, he was never the type that I would have to worry about.
And we did just learn breaking news into our newsroom that is now reportable that the shooter's father, who lives directly behind me, did call local police here in Bethel Park after the shooting took place. This is according to multiple law enforcement officials.
You should have had a gun safe.
Not yet have the exact
Why didn't you have your gun locked up?
The nature of that call or the exact timing, but of course we are working to learn more. We're live in Bethel Park right now. Megan Schiller, KDK News.
But yeah, that's just it. We're never going to know his true intentions, obviously.
The assassination attempt on the former president is on everyone's mind here in Milwaukee. And tonight, CBS News has learned new details about the shooter. He went to a gun range near Pittsburgh in the days before.
But that's kind of like, I mean, I get what you're saying, JDX. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, you can't expect someone, like, let's say Trump was totally new into this when he first became president, which he was. When he first became president, he was not a politician. But, like, I fail to see that he was not full, like, how do I phrase this? It's like, power corrupts, right? Obviously. And, like, if I'm to take things that I see at face value, and also based on certain trials that happened, he didn't want to give up the position of presidency to Biden, and that led to the escalation of the January 6th incidents, which may or may not have been fabricated. I don't know. It looked real enough to me. It didn't look like it was, like, you are given the same excuses for why January 6th happened that people give to you about why riots break out from peaceful demonstrations into full-blown riots. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, there's a few people that were planted out of the protesters and they incited them to get violent and actually storm into the Capitol. People say that the same thing about Antifa riots that started as peaceful demonstrations, and they say the same thing, where there are undercover cops that incite the violence and that mob mentality takes over, and then you got all this chaos going on kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the same excuses from both different sides. So it's hard to believe what did and didn't actually happen. And if you're just going based on the news, you're kind of fucked no matter which news you watch, because it's all just meant to manipulate us one way or the other, because everyone has their own biases. All these news channels have their own biases. You know what I mean? I don't know much about the actual trial because I wasn't caring enough to actually watch it. But, like, I don't know. Was it legit? I don't fucking know.
For the shooting.
I thought he was found guilty not because of that, but because he paid hush money to the prostitute or something like that.
And just hours ahead of the rally,
Or something.
he bought a box of ammunition for his father's AR-style rifle. Still, there's no word on motive, even though investigators have cracked the gunman's cell phone. CBS's Scott McFarlane reports questions are mounting tonight about the security breakdown.
Happened.
CBS News has learned the Secret Service did not sweep the building the shooter used to fire on the. CBS News has learned the
just
Secret
chilling
Service
there,
did not sweep
not
the
ducking or
building the
anything.
shooter used to fire on the former president, even though it had a direct line of sight to the stage. It was outside the security perimeter. But a local sniper team was inside the building at the time of the shooting.
There he is.
New video shows people in the crowd were pointing to the man on the roof at least 2 minutes before the first shot was fired.
So there was a sniper team inside the building, what, coming up to where he was at the time?
13 seconds before the shooter opens fire, people run away from the building. Former President Trump was on the stage a little more than 400 feet away, where two sets of sniper teams behind him point their rifles in the direction of the shooter, appearing to spot something before the first shot rings out. The sniper teams open
So
fire.
in those 2 minutes, they couldn't tell Trump to, like, get down or anything like that?
Killing the would-be assassin.
I think entities, state and local, they are largely maybe operating on a different radio channel than the Secret Service.
Yeah, I did hear that, like, the Supreme Court, like, did something, or they either, like, relieved him of charges, or they allowed him to, like, still run for presidency despite the charges or something like that. Supposedly, I don't know. But again, the Secret Service was packed from Trump in the first place because Trump stole one of Obama's seats that he was supposed to give. So,
The Secret Service was relying on local police to fill out part of its specialized protective units.
When I looked up, I saw blood on the podium, and I knew immediately it was.
John Abel was in the stands behind former President Trump when the shooting began.
At any point in the time since then, you asked yourself,
the whole day that happened.
How could this possibly happen? How could this be such a failure?
Yeah, that was the only thing that's going through my mind for the last 48 hours. It just didn't make any sense to me. And it still doesn't make sense to me how they allowed this to happen at all.
One person in the crowd was killed, and two others critically injured.
Do you feel like somebody let you down?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, like, I don't know enough about the Biden crime family versus the Trump crime family or any of this shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you're saying one thing, everyone else is saying another thing. Like, I don't like either one of them. I don't know what news site I can trust versus what news site I can't trust. I don't try not to watch the news because it's always biased one way or the other. They're always manipulating us. One way or the other, they're manipulating us. So you shouldn't trust any news source. And, like, try to do, like, if you really want to find something out, do your own research. And, like, not just listen to the news and take whatever Fox News says verbatim or CNN takes verbatim or whatever. You know what I mean? Try to actually do your own, like, looking into it. And try to find unbiased sources that don't lean left or right to try to, like, ascertain the truth in between. Because the truth is always, like, buried in the middle somewhere. You know what I mean? The nugget of truth, as you say, yeah. There's always a nugget of truth.
One of the two wounded rally attendees, 74-year-old James Copenhagen, is recovering from wounds to the stomach and to the leg. As for this rally site, it remains an active crime scene. The FBI is still combing through, and just moments ago, they finally lowered that enormous U.S. flag over the stage.
That was it? Oh, you didn't show anything. Oh yeah, who is Jay? Like, I guess this is his vice president pick.
Vance has
I
had
don't know
a
who the hell
meteoric
this guy is.
rise in the Republican Party. From a best-selling author
guess this
and
is-
never Trumper in 2016.
I'm a never Trump guy.
I never liked him.
To winning a U.S. Senate seat at age 38. And now, he's former President Donald Trump's running mate.
Elect Donald Trump in 2024. God bless you, sir.
Vance is very much a creature of the new Republican Party that Trump has shaped in his image. By picking Vance, Trump is showing he's doubling down on this MAGA agenda. It's a full-throated, populist, national conservative
full-throated?
Here's
What?
why the
Hello.
Trump Vance
What?
ticket is a big deal for the future of the MAGA movement and the GOP.
Why do I always say he's a lot better than fucking Pence? I hated Pence. He was such a dick.
J.D. Vance first catapulted to fame in 2016
Giving a
after
TED
he published
Talk.
his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. The book detailed his experience growing up poor in Rust Belt, Ohio, and making it to Yale Law School. It was a smash hit and became a Ron Howard-directed movie in 2020.
I know I could have done better, but you got to decide. You want to be somebody or not?
We're trying to paint this white nationalist movement as a movement primarily of poor and working class Americans, when the truth is that the alt-right is actually led by better educated and frankly pretty well-to-do people.
In his initial foray into the public spotlight, Vance was very much anti-Trump. His book made clear that he was a conservative. Many people latched onto it as an explanation for Trump's sort of surprise success in the Republican Party and then in the election.
When Vance launched his campaign for the Senate in 2021...
All right, I'm done. I'm not going to keep watching this propaganda piece anyway.